Unmitigated randomness. Hey YouTube. So today I want to show off my pride and joy. This is my gunblade that I made for the convention that I'm going to at the end of August, so it's coming up. And I'm going dressed as Squall from Final Fantasy VIII, and of course I needed a gunblade. I'm just buying the costume because that just seemed like a lot more trouble than it's worth, and I have no idea how to do stuff with fabric. Cardboard stuff I do know how to do things with, so this is what I came up with. Now this little chain medallion with the griever thing I just happened to buy off of eBay because you can get them for like $2 or $3. It was supposed to be a necklace, but I just kind of stuck it in the bottom. And I'm hoping that it looks fake enough that they're not going to be like, dude, you can't take this into the convention. I think it doesn't really look like a gunblade, so I should be okay. Now, in case you're wondering how I made it, let me show you the materials that I used, because I've got samples of each of them. The base material is just this thick cardboard stuff. I got it from just a artist store. I laminated 2 layers together for the main thickness of the blade. To do that, I just used PVA glue, put it all over the place, set it down, and then put a bunch of heavy stuff on it to like press it in. So that's how I did that. Then I traced out the shape on it and just, used a knife. It took a lot of work because evidently the glue dries really hard, so I was like, eeh. Anyways, so I cut that out, then let me pick up the blade again. So I got that basic shape. I did several layers of this because you can see this is thicker now. So this was a different shape, and I basically got it all together like that, and the handle extends down. And once I had those together, I sort of glued this section together, and these two are actually 2 separate parts, but this is tacked in there with a little bit of super glue. Which leads me to my next thing, Gorilla Super Glue. It stuck basically all the other little bits on because you didn't have to worry about clamping. You just kind of poured glue on and squeezed it, and then it was done. It was stuck. So that was a bonus. Next, to smooth the round edges, I actually just used a medium coarse file. I don't know. A fine file would work too because it's just basically sanding the edges. To get a finer finish, just sandpaper. I think I used 400 grit. You could use less, but I wanted to sand it really nice. I mean, I do woodworking for a living, so cardboard is almost wood. Another important thing, a file. Basically, because it's hard to figure out which way I'm pointing on camera, it made that so much easier because you could actually file it out, and for any of the more intricate parts where it was hard to like cut in easily with a knife. The next thing would be gesso, which was very important because it sort of gives a good surface for the paint to stick to, because cardboard isn't exactly the best thing to paint on. So I covered the whole thing in gesso. I did these in 2 parts because if you can see, they're 2 different colors. So I had 2 different colors of paint. So I painted this one, and then I stuck them together after. Leads me to my next thing, paint. I just bought some little Citadel paints. They're used for like those Warhammer miniatures, but I've used it before and I was happy with it. Just an acrylic paint. So you put it on with assortment of brushes. Doesn't really matter which brush, you just sort of put it on. I highly recommend, if you use an acrylic paint like this, dilute it with some water, because I actually had to redo this once after I painted it, because I painted it, and as I was painting it, by the time I got to a certain point, the paint was drying, and as I overlapped the layers, it was not good. It really sucked, so I ended up sanding it off. So I diluted it probably with about half water, like 50% paint, 50% water. So it just sort of went on as a wash, and then I did 2 or 3 washes to sort of get the opacity that I was looking for. So after that, you may be wondering how I managed that. I did not paint that on. I tried. That was not a good idea. So what I did is I went online and I found some of the best images of Griever I could find. I took them, I edited them so they were black and white, and then I sort of filled in the more intricate parts and sort of smoothed it out so that it would be a bit easier. And then I actually just used a printer to print it out onto some label stock. So I had a label like that, and I folded it in half, glued it together, so that when I cut it out, I was cutting out the mirror image, because if you look, there's a mirror image. So I did that. I went over it a couple times with some black permanent marker just to darken it up, because it wasn't quite as dark as I wanted. And then I carefully stuck it on, and the same on the other side, trying to make sure that they're approximately right. And you can see they're pretty much in line, so I'm actually quite pleased with that. So once I had that together, then I took Minwax polyacrylic, because it's clearer. If you use the Minwax polyurethane, it sort of yellows it. So I wanted the clear stuff. This was the smallest size I could buy, and I used maybe this much of it. It was ridiculously too much volume. But it gives it this really nice, I don't know if you can see, really nice sheen on it. And it's actually a really hard finish as well. Like, I mean, if I try, of course, I can poke it with my finger, but I mean, I'm not actually going to be using this to battle anybody. If I was, I might have made it out of wood or something. So I just used a bigger brush and slathered it on. It dries in 2 hours. You can put the next coat on, and then I think I did 2 coats. I did 2 coats of that along here, and I think it turned out relatively nice. Now for the handle, this little section on the end is just a piece of cardboard I painted black so that I had something sort of to cap this. This is just Gorilla Tape to sort of bulk it up a bit, to give it sort of a squishy feel. And then I used just some heavy-duty electrical tape, because it's entirely black. The Gorilla Tape left like white lines all over, and I was like, So I used this, and it actually feels much nicer, and you can really wrap it on tight. So even over the contours, it sort of sticks down, and it ends up looking, you know, not exactly leather wrapped, but it looks pretty good. And that's pretty much it. That's everything I used to make this. And a lot of time. It took a lot of time. It took so much time to cut through it, because you're just sitting there cutting and cutting and cutting, because the knife doesn't go through in one cut. If you have a bandsaw, if you have a scroll saw, if you have any kind of a power tool, even a jigsaw, it will be so much easier, so use that. The painting took a long time because I didn't know what I was doing at first. So if you use acrylic paint, definitely dilute it. I think if you used an oil paint, it would be okay, because oil paint takes a long time to dry, which also is kind of annoying because it just has to sit there, and I think it kind of smells. The advantage of the acrylic stuff, no smell. The polyacrylic, no smell. I may not have done it in my bedroom, but I did it beside my bedroom, and I had no problem with fumes or anything like that. I didn't even have to open a window, so hopefully I didn't, kill any brain cells. I think I'm okay. So yeah, that is how I made this. Stay tuned, and once my costume comes in, I will probably show you my costume. There will be a wig as well, because I know you're thinking Squall's not blonde, and I'll shave for that too. I mean, a bearded Squall, no. Anyways, so that's that. If you want to know anything more about it, leave a comment and let me know. See ya.